You are attending one of 4 simultaneous workshops over the next 3 days to engage in productive conversations. Coastal areas have a population density that is 6 times greater than the corresponding inland counties and are growing rapidly. Somewhere by the latter third of this century, the majority of Americans will live within 100 kilometers of a coastline. CoPe stands as an opportunity for geoscientists, social scientists, biologists, and engineers and other disciplines to work together on some truly complex problems related to coastlines and people.
The human component of this process begins with about 500 scientists, academics, community representatives, and other stakeholders. The theme, or the thread, connecting this diverse group of people is coastlines and the people associated with them.
The expectation is that by drawing a group with such diverse range of backgrounds and mixing them together, we can help them go further and help them solve problems creatively.
The starting point is the idea of coastal research hubs, the scale and focus of which reflect the diversity of the concerns affecting coastlines and the broader consequences these areas have on populations. The process the participants are run through is intense. Over the course of 3 days, in 3 physical locations and 1 virtual meetup, facilitators guide participants through a series of activities which energize and animate both the people and the space in which all this innovative thinking is happening.
The end result of the process is a batch of concise, directed recommendations exploring both the structural and geographical distribution of hubs, as well as the deeper questions about how data could be managed.
While the environment is designed to encourage spontaneous, out-of-the-box thinking, the limiting factor of a 3-minute presentation broadcast live on the final day adds a certain refining pressure to the process as a whole. As ideas emerge, they are introduced into the creative space as objects. People interact with these ideas in a physical form, and the final presentations bear the fingerprints of the many hands that shape them.
There were 2 themes that nearly every group engaged with in some way in their final presentations. The first theme is the need to redefine basic concepts like coastlines and extreme weather events to better reflect our growing knowledge of interconnected systems.
Coastlines do not exist in a vacuum. They're connected, and therefore the science must also be integrative. In essence, the concept of coast must encompass inland and offshore systems as well.
Our recommendation is to develop transdisciplinary approaches for characterizing the complexity of extreme events, where regional hubs would facilitate conversations and data and model exchange between natural, physical, and social scientists, engineers, decision makers, and key community members to move from modeling only deterministic worst-case events to also understanding and predicting processes that result in extreme impact events.
So let's move beyond the bathtub. Our recommendation is that within CoPe, there needs to be an interdisciplinary research theme to develop models that generate data on the wheres, whens, and whats of coastline change to inform public policy.
And the basic idea behind this is that innovative networking and communication techniques are going to be required and essential for hubs to function properly. We can instill this cross-disciplinary concept into all aspects of the research from the very start, from the planning to the completion stages.
We recommend a decentralized hub that would integrate researchers, students, community colleges, K-12 schools, philanthropic foundations, local governments, and help to catalyze public participation in STEM. We especially would emphasize bidirectional information flow from and among and between these different groups.
We're thinking about it in a very interdisciplinary way. You can see here 5 kind of subsystems: built environment, biotic, abiotic, societal, and economy. And we're thinking not only about what happens within each of those systems, but most importantly, how they interact together. What are the feedbacks and connections among them? How do they work? What are the time and spatial scales at which those interactions operate? What are the key driving processes? We want to think about how events and stresses, both acute and chronic, can actually influence the dynamics here to lead to tipping points.
Another theme that emerged was the enormous potential for sharing data in a new paradigm of reimagined research hubs.
The idea, in a nutshell, is that the co-development of coastal hazard visualizations can make complex ideas accessible to anyone and enable dialogue, deliberation, and ultimately actionable decisions.
We think that we can put together information in some of these new integrative modeling frameworks which are now available. There's an awful lot of foundational information available that research like this can really build on to move things forward. We think we can really make a difference and hopefully anticipate and alleviate some of the effects of tipping points in the future.
In a nutshell, we believe that observations are key to forwarding the science of episodic and extreme events. We think that there needs to be a coevolution of our understanding in geochemistry, human behavior, and the ecosystem state, both before, during, and after an extreme event.
We need some way to independently translate the value and utility of what CoPe is doing to politicians and decision makers.
Earth itself is an island. It has a limited pool of resources. It is a highly complex adaptive system, but the scale is so large, it is challenging to study linkages between human and natural systems. Islands are proxies to Earth. They are limited in resources and connections to resources. Their small watersheds mean land and sea tightly connect, and they have tightly coupled human and natural systems.
Short-term solutions lead to long-term problems. So what we propose is long-term solutions and relationships to solve wicked problems in the long term.
What's going on below the surface of all this very important innovation work is a quieter process of knitting together human networks. The recommendations presented will be shared, socialized, and will hopefully inform various funding mechanisms and projects. But the participants go home with new connections, new collaborators, and new creative partnerships.
Innovation is a boundary-dissolving state of mind. It dissolves the boundaries between what you know and what you are learning. It dissolves the boundaries between members of a team as they all focus their awareness on the challenge at hand. It redefines problems as opportunities to grow and creates space for all manner of unexpected connections.